TV show. If you can only pick one TV show to watch for the rest of your life, what is that TV show?
Breaking Bad.
Oh, that is a good one, sir. That is a
Yeah,
good one. Are you comfortable picking a drama as heavy as Breaking Bad to watch for the rest of your life?
I'd say so. Yeah,
Okay, okay,
I'd say.
fair enough.
I'm
Fair
very
enough.
particular with TV shows, very, very particular, and that's one I can just rewatch. Actually, you know what? Another one just came to mind that I could actually just sit down and watch forever. The Office, US one.
Woo! Can I tell you something
I
right
think I'm
now?
like 8 times around watching that.
Can I tell you something right now? I just
Go
started
on, yeah.
rewatching it. I'm 5 episodes into season one. It's
Oh,
definitely top three TV show all time for me. So there you go.
yep, I agree. You just watch it and watch it and watch it, and it never gets old. You always see new stuff you never missed before.
100%, 100%. All right, we are
Yeah.
indeed live, and for those of you that were entertaining our conversation, thank you so much. And listen, Gadget here again for Henry's Live, and I'm here with a content creator, filmmaker, and YouTuber, Chris Brockhurst. I've been following his YouTube channel for a while now, and I've been lucky enough to actually get him on the DMs. We've been talking, and I said, hey, would you love to do this conversation? He said, absolutely. So, Chris, how are you doing? And again, in the midst of this COVID-19 situation, how are you doing and how are you holding up?
I'm good, actually. Yeah, we live in quite a rural area, so we have lots of space. We can go outside and walk around and really not see anybody. So I wouldn't say we're hard off. There's definitely some changes there, but yeah,
Of
we're
course.
in a good spot.
Of course, of course. And noticing from your YouTube channel, at least from what I can see, you have not stopped. You're still working. You're still producing. I got to talk about the video that I saw on your channel right now is the editing in a hot tub in isolation. What compelled you to take your iPad into a hot tub and start editing? Can I just ask you that?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, all the comments in that video are just saying how the whole video people were just waiting for me to drop it in. And yeah, no, I like doing the editing photos because I find they're really just relaxing for me to shoot, and they're really easy videos to make too, and I enjoy making them. And I just had an idea one day. I was like, oh, what can I do in the hot tub? Like, what kind of video can I make? And I thought, well, let's
Yeah.
combine the two together, and took the iPad in the hot tub and got it all set up, and it came out pretty good in the end.
Awesome. And we can confirm the iPad is still alive, folks, so it's all good right now. So let's talk
Yep.
about the YouTube journey. This is something I really want to talk to you about because you're well over 30,000 subscribers and you're growing very quickly. You've carved out the space where you talk about gear, but you also talk about the process. You share tips, a lot of good variety around content creation. What compelled you to go and start a YouTube channel? What was sort of that motivating factor for you?
I think I started pretty similar to a lot of other people. I was consuming tons of YouTube, like a ridiculous amount. Watching people, Casey Neistat, like everyone did. Peter McKinnon got me into like the whole video stuff for YouTube videos at least. And then I just started watching more and more and thought, well, you know what? This looks like something I would enjoy doing myself. Wanted to give it a go, made a few videos, and just kind of stuck with it. And I put out a video. I think I've missed 3 weeks in 2.5 years. So
Wow.
I wouldn't consider that bad. And 2 of those weeks were when we had our first child. But other than that, I've been pretty consistent.
Yeah, and especially in these times where there is a little bit, and we've been talking about it, over the last 3 weeks, that people have a little bit more time on their hands for the most part, depending on where you are and what your situation is. And people often say, if I had more time, I would love to start my YouTube channel, etc., etc. You started this well before this situation here, and you're still going, and you're producing at least a video a week, at least.
Yep.
What
Try to.
keeps that work ethic there? How do you sort of maintain that level of consistency on your channel?
So as much as we refer to it as work, I heavily enjoy doing it. Everything like gear-wise, I love talking about gear, making videos, making little short films for myself, showing the behind the scenes. Like, I really enjoy doing that. I also enjoy teaching people how to do it. So
Right.
although, yes, it is part of what I make a living doing, it's not the main thing that I make a living doing. So it's still fun for me, and that's what allows me to do it consistently. I'd say for anyone that's interested in starting a YouTube channel, that one of the biggest things you have to accept to begin with is you have to do something you're interested in. If you're just trying to do it for the money or the views, you're not going to do well and you're going to burn out really quick. So it has to be something that you're passionate about, whether it's gardening or hot tub repairs or whatever you want. Whatever it is you want to do, you've got to niche down on it and stick with it. But if you don't enjoy doing it, you're going to have a hard go.
So as you produce, you know, your videos, and I imagine this is the same thing with most people that start on YouTube, you're not going to get that instant growth. You're not going to get that instant gratification for the most part. It does take some time, and some journeys are faster than others. What allowed you to sort of continue that process, to continue producing a weekly video, even though you didn't get that instant growth? And again, I'm not assuming anything, so you can let me know or correct me if you had those 50,000 views right away. But, you know, in that early period,
did not. No.
What motivated you to keep going?
To give you a rough indication of growth, it took me about a year to get 1,000 subscribers, roughly. And then some of those videos that you spend hours and hours and hours doing, and then you get 20, 30 views. So it definitely can be disheartening, but you just kind of have to stick with it. And there's going to be people that, even out of those 30 views, that comment on it saying how useful it was to them, or they didn't know how to do it before, or they took something away from it. And that's really a big thing. If you can get something from a couple of people that you meet, you know, you kind of like know that the video's, it's solved its purpose.
Right. We got about a dozen people watching. I should remind people, if you are in the YouTube watching live, please drop your questions in the comments. Chris, I love talking to other creators, especially other YouTubers, just because, you know, it's what I do as well. One thing I often notice is that when you have this channel specific to photography, you'll have gear videos, and then you'll probably do something that you enjoy, that you like a little bit more. And for me, I like doing videos around, you know, how to make an image and the behind the scenes of that. And one sort of reality is, if you're a gear channel, your gear videos are just going to get way more views, especially right off the bat, than some of your passion project videos, right? So, you know, I want to ask you, is that something that you find similar to your channel, and how do you sort of handle that?
Absolutely. Like the hot tub video today, like something I really enjoyed making. I know there's people that enjoyed watching it, but I haven't looked in the last few hours, but it's not doing the best compared to some of the other videos, but I know that I enjoyed making it, and that's really all that matters. I'm not sure if you're familiar. I'm sure you are. Sarah Dietschy kind of has this thesis that it's like 2 for them, 1 for me. So you make 2 videos that are about gear, that's going to do really well on the channel, but then to keep your passion alive, you do 1 for yourself. And that's something I kind of stick to.
Nice. So outside of gear videos, for someone that might be watching your content surface level and doesn't really explore everything, and again, you have a ton of videos on your channel, so guys, please check out his YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, and go into the library. What is that sort of passion for you, if you can kind of describe it? What are the things outside of gear videos that you enjoy producing?
Short films that have some form of a story or capture some kind of an event. That's how I started. If you go way back, like some of my videos before I got consistent, they're like a family trip to the zoo or a cottage weekend. Those are the kinds of videos that I made first before I got consistent, and I now kind of litter those in throughout the regular gear videos as well.
Nice. And you know, you just said gear. Let's talk about gear. This is one of the things I was looking forward to geeking out with you. What's sort of your daily drivers? What's the gear that you sort of use to maintain and run your channel?
Daily driver for shooting videos with this kind of a backdrop here, A7 III with the 24mm G Master, or the A6400 with 24mm G Master on it as well, which equates to like a 36mm, something like that. More recently, I've been using the EOS R as well, testing that out, trying it out. But those are the kind of the things I use on a regular basis. The 24mm stays on my A7 III. I'd say 95% of the time.
Is that your favorite focal
for whatever
length?
you shoot? Sorry, go on.
Is that your favorite focal length if you had to pick one?
Yes, 100%. I just think 24, you can literally shoot anything and everything with that. One of the reasons I actually really like Sony as well is you have you can swap to crop mode. Just with this, you can assign a button to basically go from full frame to APS-C crop mode, and it just allows you to jump in. So your 24mm is now a 24mm and a 36mm, or if you're using a different focal length, you have essentially 2 focal lengths with no loss in quality for video. So that's one of the big reasons I stick with Sony, to be honest, because just convenience.
Nice. And you mentioned you had the A6400 as well. What purpose do they serve? Are they 2 specific things, or do you just use them based on, you know, comfort or workflow?
A6400 is a B camera. A7 III is my main go-to. I actually just replaced the A6300 a few months back with the 6400.
Right.
Purely because the colors out of the A7 III and the A6400 just match. Whereas the 6300 was a completely different, it's the old Sony terrible color science that everyone complains about. So that's why I now use the A6400, and it matches really well with the A7 III, and you just can't tell the difference between the two, I find. So I'll happily swap between the two, and I have no problems doing so.
Yeah, and I just got a question in the comment that, you know, you're clearly a Sony user. There's a ton of Sony content on your channel, but you are testing out the EOS R. You have a couple of videos on that. How has that EOS R experience been? Has it tempted you? Is there something that you like about it? Give me a little bit of story on that EOS R.
So I actually own it. It's not one I'm testing. I got an insane price from the States at Christmas time. And I was looking at it for a while. It's like the sleeper camera, I call it, because it's, when it first got announced, everyone just slated it, including myself, because of its specs, because of its crop on 4K.
Right.
And the more it went on, I think it's been out, what, 18 months now? The more it went on, people started to see that it's actually a pretty good camera. Even though it's only got one memory card slot, it's not a pro-grade camera. When you use it, you have to use it to really understand. It's very straightforward to use. I used this analogy before. The Canon EOS R is like using an iPhone. The A7 III is like using an Android. That's a really good way to describe it. The EOS R, you can turn it on and it just works like that. You don't really have to worry about anything else. The A7 III, you can do that as well. Same with all other Sony cameras. It's just you have to finesse things, tweak little things, change things to how you like them. Whereas with the EOS R, you don't have to do that. You just turn it on, ready to go. You can use the colors straight from the camera because they look really nice. It's got a flip screen, which is obviously a big deal. You use that a lot more than you think you do. Yeah, overall, it's just it's an easy to use camera, and I'd say it's more fun to use than Sony. Now that might be because I've used Sony for the past 2.5 years or so.
Right.
But it's just refreshing to use a different brand. And I tried out Fuji for a while as well. I know you're a Fuji guy, but I did try out the X-T3.
Nice.
And I didn't get along with it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. And really just, you know, this is something we talk about that, you know, it's such an exciting time to be a content creator because there's so much choice and diversity. And, you know, sometimes us creators will use that iPhone, Android analogy when it comes to certain vendors. And really, it doesn't come with that negative connotation. I feel like with Sony, it really does cater to people that love to tinker, that love to customize, that want to be able to map the buttons the way they want to use it. And I think if you're in that sort of lane, you're going to absolutely love this. I say this as someone that has an A7 III on my desk. And one of the things with Canon is that, again, that out-of-box experience. You know what I mean? For most people, it has most of the settings to just get up and running. And Canon, you know, listen, hey, Henry's, we're not here to comment on rumors or speculation, but Canon has pre-announced that R5. So people are asking about that in the chat. What are your thoughts on the R5? Does that tempt you as a Sony user?
I will be one of the first to pre-order that. Not because I'm going to swap from Sony, just because it looks, if it has everything they say it has in it, in terms of specs, it looks like it will clean the market. Like it has everything, and if it works as well as it's meant to work, like Canon does, then yeah, I will be pre-ordering that for sure. I saw a rough price somewhere the other day. It was like it's maybe around $3,500 US, something like that, which I think is a pretty fair price if it has everything. Yeah. I just struggle to believe that it's going to work exactly how they say it does, and it's not going to not have a crop, because they're effectively not killing off, but they're taking a lot of their market share from like a C200, C500 by doing. You believe, yeah, and I don't know how that's going to work. So we'll see. But I am very interested in it. Will I be ordering one? Yes, 100% I will be.
Nice. So let's go back and talk about your YouTube creation process, right? Like after you've sort of decided what kind of video you want to make, you sort of outline the script and what you're going to be talking about. What does that process look like? How long does it take? And, you know, what are some of the key things that you make sure not to skip?
I like that question. So I have an ongoing list in my phone, and if I was to look at it right now, it's probably over 100 videos long. Just ones that I have an idea, have and I'll write the idea down, and then I'll work through those ideas. Maybe on a Monday, I'll pick from those ideas and okay, well, maybe we can do this one. And then I'll start scripting it, see if it's going to work, maybe do some research. But then something might turn up, or something gets announced, and then that ends up getting pushed to the back burner, and I end up making a different video. Yeah. But for the most part, I don't really script so much as just put out key points, things I need to talk about, and then I record the video. And then I separately record B-roll, often on a different day. For me, a video can be anything from, I could record a video in about 2 days. It could take me 2 weeks. And then I edit the video, and edit can be, again, anything from a day to a week, depending on how long it takes. And then typically that video will be up maybe 2 or 3 weeks after it's finished. I always like to have a running buffer of videos. So right now, like even that hot tub video, that was shot 3 weeks ago, I think. And that's been ready to go for 2 weeks. So I always like to have a buffer just in case a video is ready to go. So right now I think I've only got the one, which comes out next week, but I'm working on another one tomorrow. So I'm always thinking of what's coming next. I have a plan of what video is being made next, but they often get bumped down the list and another one gets thrown in there somewhere along the line.
I mean, you're
probably the same too.
You can't see me right now because I cut the feed because Skype gets wonky if I try to send my video to my guest. But I am smiling ear to ear because it does take this level of preparation and work ethic, I believe anyway, to be this consistent and successful. Like for me, I have every episode up from now until middle of 2021 planned out. And like you said, as new announcements or exciting things start to happen, you move and slot things around. You use apps to kind of manage that. You might script certain things or bullet point as you go, as you get inspired. And that buffer, that idea of having 2 or 3 videos in the back pocket. I'm going to ask you, is that because you don't want to rush the process, that you're not going to force yourself to edit if you don't feel like editing? Is that the major reason why?
Absolutely. It used to be a mad dash to, like, I'd be finishing the video. My upload day is typically a Tuesday at lunchtime. It used to be I'd be getting that done right up until the last second, and I didn't like that. I didn't like being forced to do it. And sometimes, I'll be honest, and especially right now, you just don't want to make a video. So it's nice to have a buffer there of things ready to go, just knowing that you're not going to not have a video that week.
Yeah. I got a question here. People asking, how do you deal with burnout? Have you experienced burnout, and how did you manage it? Or do you sort of mitigate it by being a little bit more proactive? Because, we've seen these YouTubers where they announce that, hey, I'm going to take a break, whether it's a few months, a few weeks, whatever it may be. It was a popular, I don't want to say popular, but it was a moment in the YouTube community. Has that ever happened to you? And, how do you sort of manage that?
I think I got close. A few months back, actually. I put out a video about 6 weeks ago, just titled Change, if anyone's looking for it. And it was talking literally about that and how just doing the same thing over and over again, it starts to get to you after a while. So that's why I was just talking about how I'm going to start to make a few changes on the channel, just make a little bit more short films, things I want to make. And that's the closest I've got. I started to see it creep in. It was just I wasn't interested in making certain videos anymore. Gimbal videos, I've made so many gimbal videos. I'm done with gimbal videos now. Wow, I've done enough.
Have people approached you in the street asking for gimbal advice? Has that happened yet?
Not yet. No, not yet.
Okay, all right. I just had to ask. I'm sorry.
Have you had anybody do that?
Cameras, yes, a couple times surprisingly. Just being on the Henry's channel and Henry's social and that kind of stuff. Not as specific as a gimbal. So anyone watching this, please don't talk to me about gimbals. It's tough sometimes to kind of dedicate that much time and energy to those.
For sure. I think we're at the point now where gimbals are, just to touch on it quickly, they've plateaued. I really don't think there's much more you can do with a gimbal now that hasn't already been done. So it's very interesting now for gimbals. I don't really see much more happen, to be honest with you. And other than increasing the payload limit or something like that, like what else do you really need them to do?
Yeah. And one of the things I start to realize, and it may not be for everyone, is just that as I kind of went into gimbals, fully and started using them, eventually I got to a point where I went back to just sticks, where I just went back to the tripod. I went back to a monopod, and I'm like a slider, and I'm like, I kind of like this. Like, there's reasons for both. I feel like you got to be cautious when you kind of overinvest on one versus the other. And especially you as a filmmaker, you'll understand that think about the narrative, think about the shot. What is it supposed to look and feel like, and then decide the gear, as opposed to, you know, just picking it up and then making it, you know, a round peg into a square hole sort of thing, right?
I agree. Especially with going on sticks, like just putting a camera on a tripod now is so nice, opposed to having to balance the gimbal and then figure out who's going to hold it for you. And just put it on a tripod, shoot in 4K, and then keyframes and movements after the fact. And honestly, it comes out just as good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I got to ask you, especially in the midst of what's going on right now, do you get asked, you know, I want to start my own YouTube channel, what's your advice? And, you know, what is your advice when someone who has zero experience with YouTube, but they do have the passion, they do want to try it out? What's sort of your early advice for someone that wants to start YouTubing?
Pick something you're interested in. So what's a hobby you really enjoy doing, you're very knowledgeable about, you can talk forever about, like we could for gear there, and just focus on that. Like, think about when you first got into that hobby, what were some challenges you faced, some things you didn't know how to do, because even though it's already been done before, there's so many people out there that still don't know the answer to that, and your videos just only got to appear once in their list of things that they're searching for, and now you've gained yourself a subscriber. So the key thing is to pick something you're interested in, and that's going to allow you to stick with it.
Gotcha. Now I want to move on to someone that, you know, maybe they got 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers. Clearly they're onto something. It's working out.
Yep.
Visually, they're great. What's sort of your advice to them? They come to you, they're like, obviously they look at your channel like, hey, you're getting tens of thousands of views here every month, if not more. You have tens of thousands of subscribers. I want to emulate that. What's your advice to someone that has a little bit of growth but wants to kind of improve that?
I wish I could tell you there's one secret tip, but not everyone gets the instant blow up. I'd say time and effort, really. Those are the only things. Like, you got to be consistent, putting videos out there so people can trust you. YouTube learns to trust you with the algorithm. And it's like anything. The longer you do it, the better you're going to become. And the better you're going to become, you're going to start to gain a following from that. People aren't just going to know about you just like that. That doesn't happen, even in the real world. So, yeah, you've got to show that you're knowledgeable out there. Even things like a big thing I've been doing, and even now, is I'm part of a bunch of Facebook groups where people post questions about things. Which lens should I buy? What's the best setting for this? You just show you're an active part of that, because you have the knowledge. You may as well share it in other means outside of YouTube. So if you can do that on Facebook groups, people start to trust you. Oh, you've got a channel. Now they start following you on there as well. So maybe take avenues outside of YouTube. Twitter's a really good thing for engaging in conversation, and then people start to see that you're knowledgeable there too as well. So it's branching outside of the YouTube world to see what other places you can share your knowledge and then bring it back to YouTube. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love that Facebook group recommendation. I've never heard of that before, but I can see why that can be such a sticky way to kind of grow your brand, grow your engagement, and organically share it. Where when they see you as genuine, providing value, people want to engage with that type of personality, that type of content overall, right? Great recommendation.
If you just go into Facebook, actually, and this is the only thing I use Facebook for, and I don't use it for anything else, and you just search at the top your camera, or whatever, even a mic, you'll find that there is magnitudes of groups out there of people that own that. Even like I don't know, you're having problems with your MacBook. If you just search MacBook users 2015, there's going to be someone out there that's made a group that there's thousands of people in there, and they're all talking about those kinds of things. And that is honestly for everything. So that's actually, it's a great way to get your name out there too.
Nice. I got another question here in the chat. What video editing program do you use? So I guess I gotta let me extend that a bit. After you recorded everything, what is that process? How do you manage your files, and what do you use to sort of ingest and produce the final product?
My process has changed recently. I used to have everything on like 50 different hard drives, and I'd constantly be creating space from one and moving it around the other, and that got to be a pain. And then at Christmas time, I had a drive fail. Oh, no. So our wedding, we shoot weddings too. Our wedding backup drive failed. So we lost everything from that drive. Jeez. And I managed to rescue it. But once it was rescued, like I recovered it to about 3 days. And then after that, I bought a RAID. And now everything is sitting on 2 8-terabyte RAIDs, constantly copy into each other. So if something fails, I have a backup of that. I used to delete all my videos, all the video after it was gone.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing that now for about 3 months. And going back to your question in terms of editing, I used to be Premiere, and I couldn't deal with the crashes anymore. So I just bit the bullet one time and bought Final Cut Pro. And honestly, I could not go back to Premiere now. Final Cut just cuts through 4K video, even like multiple layers of 4K video without any problems. 15-minute 4K video exported in maybe 5 minutes. It uploads straight to YouTube for me. I then jump on, tag everything, thumbnail, end cards. Yeah, Final Cut, honestly, having used Premiere now, I'd say Final Cut, once you can get around the magnetic timeline, it's far easier to use, and it's more fun to use as well. Premiere is very clunky, I find, and Final Cut just isn't like that.
Yeah, I was talking to my guest yesterday about it as well, and we bonded over the Final Cut story because, I started off on Premiere, and that's kind of where you learn timeline editing and the basic tools around that. But once you use Final Cut, especially, obviously you have to have Mac hardware, the way it just performs, the speed of which you can just cut, edit, and spit out a final product is really unique.
It's insane.
Yeah, and it's rendering in the background, so your exports just are so quick to do. And like you said, the crashes. Listen, I haven't used Premiere in about 18 months, so who knows what happened. But one of the things I had to deal with is that it would randomly crash, especially during export, and you have to kind of go back and diagnose where the issue is. So yeah, that's great hearing that. Let's talk about.
There's a running joke that you get like muscle spasms from just having your fingers on Command and S all the time.
I could see that happening.
It was me too. I was doing that all the time. You had to.
Yeah, and it's that level of paranoia that you want to eliminate. Whether it's the software you choose, whether it's the gear you use, and this is why people invest in more expensive, better gears, because you don't want to have failure points, right? You want to mitigate that by getting the right product. And for me, and I think for you as well, you'd agree, Final Cut is one of those products where it just mitigates a lot of concern, in the editing process. Question for you here is the gear you'd recommend for someone that's looking to start their YouTube channel. So, let's assume that it's someone in the photo video space that, Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon-esque kind of videos. What's the gear you'd recommend for someone that's getting started? They want to graduate from their mobile device.
Sure. I'm actually going to say a Sony camera, obviously. The 6100, the Sony a6100. It's one of Sony's newer APS-C cameras. Get yourself a Sigma 16mm f1.4,
right,
and that's going to equate to about a 24mm, which is my favorite focal length. It has a flip screen on it, so that's going to be really useful for if you do want to vlog. But even if you want to film videos where it's just sat on a tripod, you don't have to buy a monitor because you can just flip the screen up. So that's going to be really useful for you. And then a Rode Video Micro. I think it's like an $80 microphone. Sound is way more important than people kind of think. When you say you want to start a YouTube channel, they just think, what camera do I need? What lens do I need? People don't give any thought to lighting and sound.
Yeah. And
you can film with an iPhone. Like right now, people probably can't tell, but this is shot with an iPhone, but I have two big lights lighting me, and it looks pretty good for an iPhone.
Yeah.
So lighting and sound, two things you should pay a lot of attention to as well. And you can get a pretty good light for maybe like $60, $70, just a continuous light with a little bit of a matte box on it, set off to the side. You can get everything for, you're going to have to invest some money, but I'd say probably around $1,000, $1,200-ish. Yeah. Even if you want to buy used, camera equipment really holds its value, especially Sony stuff. Jump onto Kijiji, maybe not for the foreseeable future, but jump onto Kijiji and get some used equipment, test it out, obviously, meet people in person, and don't be scared to go the used route as well.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about your lighting setup. You obviously have one, softbox in front of you, but you also have this, light on the side here, this little edge light you got going on. We talked about it earlier, but you got to show it off to people. What do you got there that's giving that color and that character to your setup?
So I actually just put out a video last week that had a bunch of gear in it, and it has this in it too. So this is the Yongnuo YN360 version 3. There's two other ones before it. The reason this one's pretty good is it takes batteries, but you can also power it as well externally if you want to. However, the really nice thing with this one is it's obviously an RGB light, but has a little remote here. You can detach that, and as you see, it just changed color. I can change all the colors just with that little remote just there. And if you just want to swap back to, you can go back to your regular Daylight 5600 there as well. So I really like this light for just shooting these kinds of things. I was in Toronto over Christmas as well. We shot some portraits, just having like nice portraits in the dark environment with some color popping off to the side there. So this has been one of those things where I did a lot of research. I bought this myself, and it's getting a lot of use now, and I really like it. I'd highly recommend this. This, I think it was about $150, something like that.
Right.
Worth its weight in gold, to be honest.
Amazing. And listen, this is the problem with me talking to creators, is that it gets really expensive for me, and I definitely want to buy those because anyone that sees my face right now, I'm probably going to light this side with a different color that contrasts my background. It's going to get really nerdy, and you'll see it in a future stream after I made that purchase. So, Chris, listen,
it's true.
thank you.
It's true.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And listen, the conversation's not done, folks, because as we do always, we do half an hour on YouTube, and then we go to Instagram where you guys can jump in the conversation and ask your questions. Chris, thank you so much for part one. I appreciate your time. Obviously, you got the YouTube channel. Where else can people get in touch with you and find your work?
I am on YouTube, obviously, Instagram as well. Those are the two places. You can see me hanging out on Twitter, but it's not really anything constructive. It's just banter and complaining about things and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I'm going to talk to you over on Instagram. And for those of you that joined us live, thank you so much, and we'll see you again.